So I found the report very interesting. I found the sourcing of the report interesting, and we can get into that. But my initial reaction was, well, this was the plan. The plan was to certainly give Luke Walton this year the full year, and that was without anticipating LeBron missing more time than he's ever missed due to injury, Rondo being suspended and injured, Ingram being suspended, Lonzo missing a couple stretches of time due to injury. So it's justifiable. I think it's the wrong decision. I think you had plenty of reasons to deviate from the plan. From the intangible reason, which is how much are the young players really developing? How much was that blowout loss right at the trade deadline to the Pacers the fault of a coach's inability to tell these guys, hey, you got a job to do. This is part of being a pro athlete. That's the intangible. To the tangible, which is the haphazard, seemingly no rhyme or reason to the rotations. The minutes that go up and down and fluctuate. I'm old enough to remember early in the year, we're really concerned about LeBron's minutes. That went out the window right around the time you had reason to be concerned about LeBron's minutes coming off the injury. The tangible, when's the last time the Lakers ran an out-of-timeout play or an out-of-bounds play, and you're like, wow, haven't seen that one before. So I think they had plenty of reasons to deviate from the plan. It would appear they are not going to deviate from the plan. I think at the end of the year, they might look back and say, why did we want to keep Luke Walton? But it would appear they're keeping Luke Walton.
They did run a little sexy out of bounds in Atlanta, and LeBron made an unbelievable pass.
Led to a layup that was missed?
Yes. So that was, it might have been more LeBron than design, but I understand. I understand your concern. I understand your commentary and comments about Luke Walton, because it would be hard. I think yesterday you did an amazing job of, you asked me, okay, well, prove it to me. I'm willing to have this discussion with you about Luke Walton, but give me this evidence that is going to be able to swing me, because I'm willing to listen to it. I didn't really have anything for him. So I've been looking for people to be able to write stuff or be able to say stuff, and it is on the board that Luke Walton would be fired. Now, for me, I wouldn't fire him, because everything that the Lakers have done since they hired Magic Johnson, it had more like a Magic Johnson, we're going to be patient type of theme to it. And Luke Walton is the only piece, really, that was there before Magic. So Magic didn't pick the coach yet. So ultimately, if I'm running basketball operations, if I pick Rob Pelinka, which he did, to be able to be the general manager, ultimately, we're going to have to pick a coach. And I wouldn't want to have to pick that coach during the regular season. So I'm going to let Jeanie Buss have her way. It's her coach. I'm going to allow him to coach till the end of the season, given that you can't control, let's say, after Christmas Day. We're in the 4th spot. Our young players, they're developing. Ingram not at the rate we'd like. Lonzo not at the rate, but Kuzma is above what we expected.
And maybe, real quick, sorry to interrupt, on Lonzo, and maybe we're seeing it over the last few weeks, we might have been underrating Lonzo's defensive impact. Because the defense, and he has been developing on that track.
Now you're getting to my closing argument.
Oh, my apologies.
Because it's about the missed games. LeBron missed 18 games. How can this young team recover? And if there's another player you don't want to be hurt, it might not be just on paper. Rondo missed 34 games. Rondo's a tremendous leader. So when you have both of those guys, veterans, out with championship experience out of the lineup, Ingram's missed 11 games. Lonzo missed 10 games. To me, that's the only reason outside of Magic Johnson didn't hire him. Let's make this through the regular season, postseason if we make it. Then we'll start from scratch. Well, he can hire his own coach. But when you miss that many games, it's hard to say I'm giving him a fair shake when guys aren't able to be on the basketball court.
And Nick, everything with this team has been a distraction this season. The rotations, the chemistry, the development of the young guys, LeBron being out, tampering, the trade deadline.
Sure.
Everything's been a distraction. Maybe this is one thing where they could just nip it in the bud and say, okay, just for the rest of the season, this won't be a distraction. Like, let's just take whether there's going to be a new head coach or not off the table. Is there something to that? If you're looking at why you think the Lakers would think this would be the best move for the team, would that be a part of it?
Potentially. But I think the real reason is because the owner of the team likes Luke Walton. And I think the owner of the team was the one that was anonymously quoted in this article, Jeanie Buss. Because it does not make any sense. Broderick Turner is an excellent reporter. Broderick Turner is the one for the Los Angeles Times. This wasn't Woj nationally. This wasn't Zach Lowe. This was a local reporter who had one. Now, he said people close to the situation he quoted, but then he kept going back to one person, according to one person with authorization over the decision. Well, there's only 3 people that one person could be. Pelinka, Magic, Jeanie Buss. And if Pelinka or Magic wanted to give Luke Walton a vote of confidence, they would not do it anonymously.
Just do it publicly.
You would put your name to it. The only person who I believe would have a reason to do it anonymously is Pelinka and Magic's boss, who has publicly said, we love Luke, Luke's going to stick around, but I will leave it up to them. To me, I believe Jeanie Buss knew there was a chance that Pelinka and Magic were going to have a phone call together and call her later in the day and say, we want to move on from Luke, and she was nipping that in the bud. And she was, because she has publicly said it's up to them. But they read this news report as well, if I'm reading this correctly. And Magic calls Pelinka and said, you're not the source, are you? No. Pelinka says to me, you're not the source, are you? Well, who's the only other possible source? Our boss. I guess this is her way of meddling without meddling. Her way of letting us know, oh, yeah, it's still up to us. But somebody told the local newspaper he's not getting fired. And so, Jeanie Buss, this is her guy. And he is an L.A. kid, and he did play for the team when her dad was still around. There's a lot of Luke and Ingram are the only guys involved in the Lakers that predate Magic and Pelinka. And so I think this came from ownership, and the Lakers are going to have to deal with it because I think that I think Magic and Pelinka feel similarly to how I do, that maybe Brian Shaw's not the long-term answer, but he's not going to do worse over the last 25 games than Luke Walton's done.
But quickly, are you both convinced that by the season's end, they are most likely moving on, whatever they do during the season, from Luke Walton?
It depends on them making the playoffs and what they're going to do. Because I believe LeBron and the health of the Lakers can cure this. If they get back to where they were, let's go to December. They're the 4th seed. Yeah. Now, the reason why they've missed, and I believe that Lonzo defensive point, because they're one of the worst in the NBA after week number 3, July 19th. I mean, June 19th. January 19th. I mean, they're one of the worst in the league. So that point right there, we have to look at that. The injuries have affected these young kids. And I just believe firing Luke Walton, if these kids were in turmoil over the trades, not developing, what do you think they would be with the new coach in the building? I don't believe that would give them greater comfort. So part of their development is I'm going to stabilize it for the rest of the season.
I'm not convinced that Luke Walton won't be the coach to start next season. I would be shocked if he's the coach to end next season. And that's one of the reasons why I would have made the move now. We thought David Blatt was going to be one and done in Cleveland. And then LeBron turned on playoff LeBron. They made the finals. Can't fire him after making the finals. And you go into next season with essentially a lame duck coach who your star player doesn't love playing for, and you fire him midseason. If the Lakers are able to get to the 7 line, or if the Warriors, as you pointed out yesterday, which I think is very interesting, drop to the 2 line, and the Lakers are the 8, they're the 8 seed, and they upset the 1 seed Denver Nuggets, you're not going to fire the coach, even if you should have fired the coach at the All-Star break, and then you're in the interim situation. It's one of the many reasons why, because I do think it's on the board they still go on a run despite the coach. It's one of the reasons why I would have done it now.
It's a lot of ifs for a team that's 8-15 now since Christmas. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.